Oh man, here they come again.
Here they come again. This still has skin on the skull. The more I've become aware of other dimensions, the reality that there are things popping in and out of those dimensions, the more it's conceivable that what we're dealing with is something that didn't come light years away, but rather they exist here, just in a different realm. And what's interesting is that you say that, and that we can say, well, all right, so we can segue kind of into what's been coming out. I am interested at some point here to kind of maybe backtrack a little bit and kind of dig more into how the UFO phenomenon and the occult kind of intertwine for you. And I'm assuming it has a lot to do with summoning and interdimensionalism. And does that mean that our own government is probably pursuing some kind of occultic way to communicate with these things? I'm just throwing it out there. But David, I think his last name is Grush, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Grush? David Grusch?
Yeah, Grush is he's the recent one that's been offered to us.
Yes. All right. So the way you say that is, I love it. Okay, because I was just texting with. Are you familiar with Tim Pool on YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm friends with several of his people that work for him, and I was texting with Shane Cashman this morning about this, and Shane and I are kind of on the fence about this whole thing because I kind of fall on this idea that there are truths and lies in a lot of things that get released, and they give you the pieces of truth that they want to give you, surrounded by a bunch of lies to keep you off on the wrong trail. I don't know much about David Grusch at all, but when this all came out, he struck me as somebody who was just being overly matter of fact about things that I felt like in my gut, I was like, if I have this information to drop and I'm gonna do this, I'm nervous. I'm gonna be straight face. I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna be like. But he was just more like, well, believe it or not, yep. And it's just like, yeah. But I was texting with I don't know if you're familiar with Darcy Weir. Okay, so I'm friends with Darcy as well, and Darcy's very much on board with supporting David. And I told Darcy, I said, I just don't know how I feel about it. But one thing is David talks about things that you kind of hinted at here, about the one, he didn't want to say alien. He said NHI, which is non-human intelligence. And he talks about NHI existing in other planes of reality here on Earth. Right. And I was like, well, that kind of jives with what I think. And I just wonder, are there pieces of truths that are being released strategically, or is he sincere? I mean, I'm kind of just loading the chamber right now for you to let you just kind of go wherever you want, and I feel free to disagree with me or anybody else. I'm fine with that. I just want to hear your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah. Well, first of all, where I stand on it, just because my personal experience with a UFO has not been in the ET variety, I do think ETs have been coming here for ages and continue to do so. I just think that they explain a very small percentage of legitimate UFO reports. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people out there that just want to be part of the fun. So it's kind of a different brand of Me Too. I saw one too. And so people report stuff that isn't true. But of the stuff that's legitimate, ET presents, in my opinion, a very small slice. And really so do, I think the interdimensional thing represents a much bigger percentage than ET represents. But still, I throw it out there, in my opinion, 90% of legitimate UFO sightings are classified human technology in some stage of development or use. Now, as far as Grush is concerned, here's the thing. Okay, here's his angle. He's going to include these NHIs. Well, this is a theme that's been out in our community now for a few decades. Okay. I see Grush as this. He has the pedigree of, the U.S. military intel community. He looks to me like good soldier, good airman. He's in the Air Force, doing another intel gig, which in my opinion is it has something to do with perception management, relative to our technology. In other words, the UFO community is not the primary intended audience of this kind of thing. It is a side audience. What they want to do is control the narrative in the UFO community. So they put this guy out here. He's one of many that, in my opinion, has been paraded out in front of us since 2017. Yes, I am referring to Elizondo and all that stuff that got a bunch of newbies excited. He says enough things that will perk the ear. Grush says enough things that will perk the ears of people in the community. And they're hoping that it will, for instance, mentioning the NHIs, that'll give, some type of gravitas. This isn't just another ET UFO guy. See, we're hip to what's really going on, guys. And could this be real stuff? Well, here's the thing. He is no real whistleblower, in my opinion, because there appears to be zero consequence to him being a whistleblower, to him revealing anything. When you do that, particularly if you're going to do that from the military intelligence community, believe me, your experience is going to be much more like that of Gary McKinnon, where you got to stay away from the U.S. and, or Julian Assange, where, you got to hole up somewhere, because that machine's going to come at you. If you're a real whistleblower and you're really intending to reveal true information, you're not going to be smiling and casual and lackadaisical and appearing on interviews here and there. Another thing you're not going to do if you're a real whistleblower, I hate to say it to our community, but a real whistleblower on this stuff ain't going to talk to you or me or even Coast to Coast or that boob Jeremy Corbell. They're not going to talk to anybody in our community. Okay. I'm sorry. They're going to be going right to, like them or not, good or not, they're going to go to those mainstream news sources. Okay. Or they're going to use the internet to just kind of do a big reveal that can't be easily controlled, showing their evidence. And they're going to be prepared for, federal agents to come knocking down the door if they can find them. So, any number of reasons why you can question this Grush guy, the most obvious being, he's just too casual and relaxed about it. So it looks to me like, off the top of my head, it looks to me like one of two things. He's either on a perception management assignment, okay, still taking instructions from the military intelligence community, or he's off active duty, he's done with his duty, and he's looking to, establish himself in something fun. The UFO community or whatever. But as far as being a legitimate whistleblower that's going to reveal something to us that we don't know, I say no. However, I do know this from personal experience. In perception management, you often use something that's called passage material. Now, that usually comes into play in double agent operations. But your passage material is usually what you give the target to establish your bona fides. Like if you want to pretend, if you're going to be a double agent, you're going to pretend, I'm mad at America, I want to sell these secrets, or I need the money, because 99% of American traders do it for the money. We have a very bad but well-known reputation around the world that American traders, they're doing it for the money. 90% of the time, wow. 99% of the time. Anyway, for whatever your ruse is, I'm mad at America, I want to sell you this stuff. Well, you don't want to give them 100% fake stuff, because their scientists and their technicians are going to look at that and go, this is BS. You want to give them some legit stuff so that their scientists, the S&T guys, can go, oh, this is their real technology. Oh, wow. Okay. This is the real deal. This guy might be the real deal. So it's just operational wisdom and tactical wisdom to include some truth, some reality in your passage material. Now, in a perception management operation, which I think all these former U.S. government guys in UFO land for the last, several years, number of years, are doing perception management. That passage material is going to be the little things that get hinted at, like Grush talking about NHIs. So in the sense of keeping to the known tactical wisdom of using passage material, yes, we could get a little legitimate info, but I'm going to say that legitimate info isn't really going to be too far off of things that we in the community have figured out on our own or already know through other means. And they're just going to build their BS on top of that. And the intention is to get us off on a narrative. In other words, if we're getting too close to the truth by not looking at the ET hypothesis, they're going to come out and push the ET hypothesis heavily, just like they've been doing since 2017. Imagine that. They really want us back on the ET track. They really want us thinking about ET. They don't want us thinking about advanced technology. And what's interesting is, okay, Grush's little allusion to NHIs notwithstanding, I think there's probably reason that they might not want us looking too close at the interdimensional thing, particularly if that has anything to do with the technology that they're trying to hide. The other side of the technology thing, though, with perception management is that they kind of want to brandish it without admitting to the public exactly what it is. Here's where it can get tricky, because they know that the intended target, say Chinese military tech guys, Russian military tech guys, they know that being the intended target, they'll interpret it for most likely what it really is. Like the Tic Tac video, advanced Navy technology. That's U.S. military technology being developed, and anybody who says otherwise is just not doing their homework and just doesn't want to accept that. Now, the Chinese and the Russians, from the get-go, I guarantee you they knew what that was. Now, people would say, well, then why don't they reveal that it's just the technology? Well, here's the problem. If they have spies close to the development of these technologies, they don't want to blow those operations. Okay. And if they're developing their own versions of let's say the Tic Tac technology, they don't want to reveal that. So in this ironic way, they don't spill the beans that they suspect that it's U.S. technology, because they don't want the U.S. to know how much they recognize that as technology. And it's this game of layers and maneuvers and stuff. And the public, the American UFO public in particular, is caught in the middle of all this, and they're easy to dupe, because all you got to do is, get them excited to think that this is it. This is disclosure, which never really happens. So I see Grush as just another player in this perception management game that's going on. Now, the dangerous side of that is when they're getting us to look at UFOs, if you'll notice, if you pay attention to what, going back a few years, Lou Elizondo and others have said, and again, we have these military people coming out, they have alluded to the potential threat from space. That's a whole discussion when you get into the alleged Werner von Braun deathbed confession, which there's big reason to question that. At the very least, question the interpretation that's been laid on it. So are they attempting to to set up a threat narrative in order to pull some Patriot Act type maneuvers on the public? Or are we indeed as close to a global war conflict as I think we are? And are they just trying to maneuver and position things for when that ball drops, we're in the best position we can be in to counter whatever's coming? At which point, even the UFO community, ET believing community, will thank its lucky stars that Tic Tac did turn out to be some type of advanced military technology, particularly if it works and it defends people. They'll be quick to drop this ET thing. But it's, as you can see in what I've just said, all of this that I've said, how murky and multi-layered that whole world of perception management can be. Mm-hmm. And it's just a lot easier sometimes for a lot of people to just believe the false narrative that is the popular one. And the popular false narrative in all of this, in my opinion, is that this has anything to do with ETs and that we're on the verge of disclosure.